Picture this. It is 6 in the morning. A man named Richard, 58 years old, a retired school principal from Ohio, wakes up and swings his legs over the side of the bed. His feet hit the cold floor, and he just sits there for a moment. Not because he is tired, not because he had a bad night, but because his legs feel like they belong to someone else. Heavy, stiff, almost numb. And by the time he shuffles to the bathroom, his calves are aching, his fingers are cold even though the house is warm, and there is this familiar dull pressure behind his eyes that he has just learned to live with, that he thought this was aging. His doctor told him his numbers were acceptable. His family told him to slow down. And for 3 years, Richard believed that this was just what life over 50 felt like. He was wrong. And what changed everything for him came from his own kitchen. Not a prescription, not a supplement bottle. A single ingredient stirred into a small glass of olive oil every single night before bed. Within 3 weeks, Richard told me he woke up one morning and his feet were warm before he even got out of bed. His hands had feeling. His legs moved like they used to when he was 40. And he sat there in the quiet of the morning, almost in tears, because he had forgotten what normal felt like. If you are a man over 50 and your mornings feel harder than they should, stay with me. Because what you are about to learn is going to completely change how you understand your body, your blood, and what is silently happening inside your arteries every single night. Hello and welcome. I am so glad you are here today, because this is genuinely one of the most important conversations I have had on this channel. I have spent over 2 decades working in cardiovascular health, and in that time I have seen thousands of men walk through my door with the same complaints. Cold hands, stiff legs in the morning, fatigue that sleep does not fix, brain fog, a feeling that the body is somehow running slower than it used to. And in almost every single case, what was happening underneath the surface was the same thing: poor circulation. Specifically, a gradual, silent deterioration of how blood moves through the body overnight while you sleep. Today I am going to show you exactly what happens to circulation in men over 50, why it gets worse at night, what the medical world almost never tells you about it, and how one incredibly simple nightly ritual using olive oil and one specific ingredient you almost certainly already have in your kitchen can begin turning this around in a matter of weeks. By the end of this video, you are going to understand your own body in a way that most men never do. You are going to know why your mornings feel the way they do. You are going to know what science says about this combination and why it works. And you are going to have a real, practical, doctor-approved strategy you can start tonight. So get comfortable, because the next 20 minutes might be the most useful 20 minutes you spend all week. Let us start at the beginning, because to understand the solution, you have to truly understand the problem. And the problem is something I call the silent slowdown. When you are young, your cardiovascular system is like a brand new highway system. The roads are wide, the lanes are clear, traffic moves fast, and everything gets where it needs to go. Nutrients reach your muscles. Oxygen floods your brain. Your organs are bathed in fresh, warm, moving blood around the clock. You feel alive. You feel sharp. You wake up ready. But starting around age 40, and accelerating significantly after 50, something begins to change inside those highways. The walls of your arteries, which are actually made of living tissue, begin to lose their elasticity. They become stiffer, less flexible. They do not expand and contract the way they once did when your heart pumps. And simultaneously, a process called endothelial dysfunction begins to take hold. The endothelium is the thin inner lining of every blood vessel in your body. It is not just a passive wall. It is an active, living surface that produces chemicals that keep blood flowing smoothly, prevent clotting, and regulate how wide or narrow the vessel stays. When the endothelium starts to dysfunction, which it does in virtually every man over 50 to some degree, the vessels become less responsive. They cannot open up as wide when blood flow demands increase, and they become much more prone to inflammation. Now here is where it gets really interesting, and where most doctors stop short of the full truth. This slowdown does not happen evenly throughout the day. It gets dramatically worse at night. Think about what your body does while you sleep. Your heart rate slows. Your blood pressure naturally drops. Your metabolic demands decrease. All of that sounds good, right? And in a young, healthy cardiovascular system, it is fine. The system adapts beautifully, keeps blood moving through every tiny capillary in your feet, your hands, your brain, your organs. But in a man over 50 with stiffening arteries and struggling endothelial function, this nightly slowdown can become a genuine problem. Blood moves sluggishly through the smaller vessels. Microcirculation, which is the blood flow through the tiny capillaries that actually feed your tissues, drops significantly. Inflammatory compounds that your body produces, particularly something called C-reactive protein and a family of molecules called cytokines, actually peak in the early morning hours. Between 2 and 6 in the morning, if you are measuring inflammation in the body, you will find it at its highest point of the day in most men over 50. This is why so many cardiovascular events happen in the morning. Heart attacks, strokes, they are not random. They peak between 6 and 10 in the morning because the combination of sluggish overnight circulation, inflammation, and the sudden demand of waking up and moving creates a perfect storm. And this is why so many men over 50 wake up feeling exactly like Richard did. Heavy, foggy, stiff, cold in the extremities. It is not imaginary. It is not weakness. It is biology. Measurable, explainable biology. Now let me introduce you to the two things that change this equation dramatically. The first is olive oil. And I do not mean olive oil in the vague, general sense that you hear about in Mediterranean diet articles. I mean genuine, high-quality extra virgin olive oil, consumed in a specific way, at a specific time, for specific biological reasons. Extra virgin olive oil contains a compound called oleocanthal, which has been shown in peer-reviewed research to inhibit inflammatory enzymes in the body in a way that is remarkably similar to ibuprofen. It also contains oleuropein and hydroxytyrosol, two of the most powerful polyphenol found in nature, which directly protect the endothelium, improve its function, reduce oxidative stress on the vessel walls, and increase the production of nitric oxide. Now, if you have not heard me talk about nitric oxide before, you need to understand this because it is central to everything we are discussing today. Nitric oxide is a molecule that your endothelium produces to signal your blood vessels to relax and widen. More nitric oxide means wider blood vessels, faster blood flow, better delivery of oxygen and nutrients to every tissue in your body. Extra virgin olive oil consumed regularly is one of the most reliably proven ways to boost nitric oxide production in humans over 50. Multiple clinical trials have confirmed this, not in mice, not in lab cultures, but in actual human beings. But olive oil on its own, while remarkable, is not the full story. Because the ingredient you stir into it, the one that takes this from good to extraordinary, is something you probably walk past every single time you open your spice cabinet. That ingredient is turmeric. I want to tell you about a clinical trial conducted at the University of Tsukuba in Japan. Researchers took a group of postmenopausal women, which is a population with very similar cardiovascular risk profiles to men over 50, and they divided them into 3 groups. One group did aerobic exercise. One group took a curcumin supplement, which is the active compound in turmeric, and one group did both. After 8 weeks, the researchers measured endothelial function using a highly sensitive technique called flow-mediated dilation. The curcumin group showed improvements in endothelial function that were comparable to the exercise group, comparable to 8 weeks of regular aerobic exercise from a spice. That finding was so striking that it has been replicated and extended in subsequent research multiple times. Curcumin, the golden compound in turmeric, works through several simultaneous mechanisms that are almost tailor-made for the specific cardiovascular challenges of men over 50. It is a powerful inhibitor of NF-κB, which is one of the master switches of inflammation in the human body. It reduces levels of the same inflammatory markers, C-reactive protein, and the cytokines I mentioned earlier, that peak in those dangerous early morning hours. It increases nitric oxide synthesis. It reduces the oxidation of LDL cholesterol, which is the specific process that leads to plaque forming in arteries. And fascinatingly, curcumin has been shown to improve the flexibility of arterial walls, which is exactly what stiffens with age and drives so much of the morning sluggishness men over 50 experience. Now here is the challenge that every doctor knows, but most people never hear. Curcumin on its own is almost useless in the body. When you eat plain turmeric, your gut absorbs almost none of the curcumin. It passes through before your bloodstream ever gets a chance to use it. The bioavailability, which is the medical term for how much of something actually gets into your blood, is extremely low. But here is the beautiful twist. Two things dramatically change this. One is fat. Curcumin is fat-soluble, meaning it absorbs into the bloodstream far more efficiently when it is consumed alongside a healthy fat. And what is one of the healthiest, most bioavailable fats in the world? Extra virgin olive oil. When you stir turmeric into olive oil, the curcumin binds to the fat molecules and gets carried into your bloodstream with stunning efficiency. The two ingredients are not just complementary. They are synergistic in a way that is almost as if nature designed them to go together. The second thing that supercharges curcumin absorption is black pepper. A compound in black pepper called piperine has been shown in multiple studies to increase curcumin bioavailability by up to 2,000%. That is not a typo. 2,000%. A pinch of black pepper added to your olive oil and turmeric mixture essentially transforms a mildly effective dose into a potently effective one. So now you have the trio. Extra virgin olive oil for its endothelial protecting polyphenol and nitric oxide boosting properties. Turmeric for its anti-inflammatory and arterial flexibility, restoring curcumin. Black pepper to make the curcumin actually work inside your body. And you consume them together at night, which is precisely the window when your body most needs support to fight the inflammatory surge, maintain microcirculation, and prepare your vascular system for the morning demand. Let me tell you about another patient. His name is Marcus, 62 years old, former construction foreman from Texas. Built like a truck, as he liked to tell me. But by the time he came to see me, he had been waking up with what he described as a vice around his calves every morning. His circulation in his lower legs had deteriorated to the point where he had been referred to a vascular specialist and was being evaluated for potential intervention. His inflammatory markers were high. His endothelial function was poor. He was scared. He was not a man who liked taking things. He hated pills. He barely took vitamins. But he would accept food. He would accept something he could make in his own kitchen. So I told him about this combination, and I told him to take it seriously every single night, without fail, for 60 days. And then I wanted him to come back, and we would check his markers. At 60 days, Marcus sat down across from me, and he looked different. Not dramatically, but there was color in his face that had not been there before. He told me that around week 3, the vice started to loosen. By week 5, he was sleeping through the night without being woken by leg discomfort. By week 8, his morning routine felt like it used to feel 10 years ago. When we checked his blood work and his vascular function, his C-reactive protein had dropped by over 30%. His flow-mediated dilation, the measure of how well his blood vessels could widen, had improved significantly. His vascular specialist, who did not know about the dietary change, noted improvement and pushed back the timeline on any potential intervention. That is not a miracle. That is biochemistry doing exactly what it is supposed to do when you give the body the right materials. Now I want to address something important, because I know some of you are sitting there thinking that if this worked so well, why does not every cardiologist recommend it? And this is a question that deserves an honest answer. The medical system is extraordinarily good at treating acute problems, crises, emergencies, but it is structurally not well set up to prioritize, teach, or spend consultation time on nutritional interventions, even when the science is solid. A 15-minute appointment with a busy cardiologist is spent reviewing medications, checking ECG results, and managing existing conditions. There is rarely time to sit with a patient and walk through the biochemistry of olive oil polyphenol. That does not mean doctors do not believe in this. Many do. It means the system does not create space for it. And pharmaceutical interventions, which are absolutely necessary and life-saving in many cases, tend to dominate the conversation because there are entire industries dedicated to ensuring they do. This is not a conspiracy. It is a structural reality. And it is why videos like this one matter. Because you deserve to understand your own biology. You deserve to know what the research actually shows. And you deserve the chance to take meaningful, low-risk, high-evidence action in your own kitchen. Tonight, let me walk you through exactly how to do this and how to do it right, because the details genuinely matter. First, the quality of your olive oil is non-negotiable. Extra virgin olive oil is the only form that contains the therapeutic levels of oleocanthal, oleuropein, and hydroxytyrosol that we are talking about. Regular olive oil, light olive oil, pure olive oil, these are all heavily refined, and most of the beneficial compounds have been removed. Look for a bottle that says extra virgin, that has a harvest date on the label, ideally within the last 12 months. And that comes in a dark glass bottle because light degrades the polyphenol rapidly. When you taste genuinely high-quality extra virgin olive oil, it will have a slight peppery, almost bitter bite at the back of your throat. That sensation is the oleocanthal. That bite means it is the real thing. Second, your turmeric. Powdered turmeric from the spice aisle works perfectly well. You do not need a fancy supplement. 1 level teaspoon is your starting dose. If your gut tolerates it well after a week, you can increase to a full heaping teaspoon. The key is consistency, not quantity. A smaller dose every single night will outperform a large dose taken sporadically. Third, your black pepper. A generous pinch is all you need. This is not about the flavor, though the combination is actually quite pleasant with a little practice. It is purely about activating the curcumin. Do not skip this step. Without it, you are leaving the majority of turmeric's benefits on the table. The preparation is simple. Take 1 tablespoon, or if you prefer 2 tablespoons, of extra virgin olive oil. Add your turmeric. Add your black pepper. Stir it thoroughly for 30 seconds so the turmeric fully disperses into the oil rather than sitting in clumps. Then drink it directly, like a small shot. Do not heat it. Heating olive oil above certain temperatures begins to damage its beneficial compounds. Room temperature or cool is ideal. Take it approximately 30 to 60 minutes before bed. This timing is intentional. You want the anti-inflammatory compounds entering your bloodstream right as your body transitions into the nighttime inflammatory window. The curcumin needs a couple of hours to reach meaningful tissue concentrations, so taking it too close to sleeping cuts into that window. Give your body a minimum of 3 weeks before you evaluate whether it is working. Biological changes in the vascular system are not overnight events. The research shows measurable improvements in endothelial function starting around the 3 to 4 week mark with consistent daily use. By 8 weeks, the changes become quite pronounced in most men. If you stop after a week because you did not feel different, you gave up before the chemistry had time to do its work. Additionally, I want you to think about what you can pair with this habit to amplify the results. Hydration is enormously underestimated in vascular health. Your blood is roughly 55% water. Dehydration, even mild dehydration of 1 to 2%, measurably increases blood viscosity, meaning your blood gets thicker and harder to pump. Aim for at least 2 liters of water through the day, and have a glass of water when you wake up before anything else. This simple act of morning rehydration helps your blood become more fluid right when your circulation is recovering from the night. Walking is also something I cannot say enough about. I do not mean intense exercise. I mean a genuine 20 to 30-minute walk every single day. The rhythmic muscle contractions of walking, especially in the large leg muscles, act as a secondary pump for blood flow. The legs are sometimes called the second heart for precisely this reason. A daily walk, combined with your nightly olive oil and turmeric ritual, creates a 1-2 effect on circulation that compounds over time in a powerful way. And finally, watch your dinner. A very heavy, high-sodium, processed meal right before bed creates an inflammatory load in your body overnight that works directly against what your olive oil mixture is trying to do. You do not need to be perfect, but try to make your last meal of the day a lighter, cleaner one. Your vascular system will reward you for it in the morning. Now I promised you something that almost nobody in the medical world talks about, and I want to keep that promise. There is a phenomenon that researchers have started calling the oral microbiome nitric oxide pathway, and it is genuinely one of the most fascinating and underappreciated pieces of cardiovascular biology discovered in the last decade. Here's what it means. A significant portion of your body's nitric oxide, the very molecule that relaxes and widens your blood vessels, is actually produced not in your blood vessels directly, but through a 2-step process that begins in your mouth. Certain beneficial bacteria that live on the back of your tongue convert nitrates from the food you eat into a compound called nitrite. Then your stomach acid and body chemistry convert that nitrite into nitric oxide, which enters the bloodstream and directly benefits your arteries. Here is why this matters urgently for men over 50. If you use antibacterial mouthwash regularly, particularly the strong, alcohol-based varieties that are marketed to kill all bacteria in your mouth, you are killing the exact bacteria that produce this nitric oxide precursor. Multiple studies have now shown that regular antibacterial mouthwash use is associated with meaningful increases in blood pressure and measurable reductions in nitric oxide production. One study published in a major cardiovascular journal found that men who stopped using antibacterial mouthwash had reductions in blood pressure within a week. This does not mean you should stop caring for your oral hygiene. Brushing and flossing are critical. But the all-killing, alcohol-based mouthwash used routinely is something worth reconsidering if cardiovascular health is a priority for you. Switch to a gentler, alcohol-free option, or simply eliminate mouthwash entirely and see if you notice a difference in how you feel in the mornings. You might be genuinely surprised that we have covered a remarkable amount of ground together today. And I want to bring it all home for you because I want you to leave this video not just informed, but genuinely motivated and equipped. Here is the truth in its simplest form. Men over 50 face a very real and very manageable challenge with circulation and vascular health. The overnight inflammatory surge is real. The stiffening of arterial walls is real. The reduction in microcirculation that makes your mornings harder is real. But none of it is inevitable. None of it is untreatable. And none of it requires only pharmaceutical intervention to address. Extra virgin olive oil stirred with turmeric and black pepper, taken every night before bed, is backed by genuine peer-reviewed science. It protects your endothelium. It reduces the inflammatory compounds that peak in those dangerous early morning hours. It boosts nitric oxide production. It improves arterial flexibility. It is something Richard started doing in his kitchen in Ohio and woke up one morning with warm feet and tears in his eyes. It is something Marcus used to push back the timeline on vascular intervention. And it is something you can start tonight. You did not come to this video by accident. Something in your body, some morning heaviness, some coldness in your hands or feet, some fatigue you cannot explain brought you here. Trust that instinct. Your body has been sending you a message, and now you have a clearer picture of what it is saying and what you can do about it. Start tonight. 1 tablespoon of extra virgin olive oil, 1 teaspoon of turmeric, a generous pinch of black pepper. Stir it for 30 seconds. Take it like a shot. Then do it again tomorrow night. And the night after that. Give your body the 60 days it deserves, and then tell me how your mornings feel. If this video gave you something valuable today, if it answered a question you have been carrying around, or explained something your doctor never took the time to explain, please give it a like because it helps more men over 50 find this information when they need it. Subscribe to this channel so you never miss a video, because we cover these deep dive health topics every single week with the same level of detail and honesty you experience today. And drop a comment below telling me what topic you want me to cover next, because every topic on this channel comes from the community, from people exactly like you who want real answers. And I will leave you with this thought. The most powerful pharmacy in the world is not on a street corner or behind a counter. It is in your kitchen, in your daily habits, and in your willingness to understand the extraordinary biology that is keeping you alive right now. Give your body what it needs, and your body will remind you what it feels like to thrive. Take care of yourself. You deserve to feel good in the morning.